Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Friday. I'm doing things today the old way, and there's Kovu, who's joining me. As soon as he saw me run to the computer, he knew it was video time, so he's come for a visit. Yeah, alright, so say hello, and so say goodbye. Okay, see you later. Alright, got a lot of interesting weather going on today. We had this weather front move through last night, and you can see it here to our south. And as a result, we brought in some much cooler air. We were in the 90s in most places, and there was a very strong round of severe weather late yesterday afternoon and evening in central New Jersey, mainly from Route 78, which runs right about here, to 195, which runs right about here. It was right in between that, and then it gradually shifted southward later. There was also severe weather across parts of the Hudson Valley into Connecticut. We had actually even had some good downpours and a couple of thunderstorms running around on Long Island because the marine influence is less. But today the marine influence is great. There's this cool high in northern New England that's built down. Look at these temperatures. In some places, they're almost 30 degrees cooler than they were at this time yesterday. And there he is, by the way. He decided to take a nap right next to me. But you can see the cooler temperatures. Look at these readings. Here we are, almost to midday. 61, 63 in coastal Connecticut near New Haven, Bridgeport 63. I'm not sure which station that is there. 62 up in Hartford. We are looking at temperatures on Long Island in New York City in the low to mid 60s, even down into central New Jersey, and it's in the upper 60s to around 70. But you go just south of 195 into southeastern Pennsylvania and into southern New Jersey, it's in the low 80s, and it could get to mid and upper 80s. And that's where I think the bigger threat of severe weather is today in that particular area. And when you look at here on the satellite loop, as it goes visible, a lot of clouds stretching from the Canadian Maritimes all the way back through New England, upstate New York, where I have a friend of mine camping up in the Alleghenies. He said it's been horrible up there in terms of the rain they've had all week. And then you've got these showers and thunderstorms blossoming around through the Great Lakes and some more back over into the Central Plains. Much of the southeast and Gulf states, other than for some daytime showers and thunderstorms, pretty calm and quiet, at least to start the day. And in the west, we have a very deep upper air storm here. You can see it off the west coast on the loop. And this is the reason you have this big ridge out in the west that continues. And here's that low. I'm probably overstating the strength of the ridge, but the trough is fairly deep and continues to lock us in this weather pattern that we've been in. Now, looking at the West Coast satellite, this is the tropical view. I just want to show you Hurricane Fernanda, which is deep into the tropics here. This is pretty far to the south, closer to 10 north than it is to 15. And top winds were 100 miles an hour. This is probably going to become a major hurricane over the next 3 days. The eye is actually forming right now, so my guess is it's probably close to probably a Category 3, could be strengthening rapidly. As long as it stays this far south for the next 3 days, this thing should be able to intensify quite a bit. We might even get to Cat 4 status or higher. And here's Hawaii, by the way, just to put it in perspective. Now, it is forecast to move west and then gradually turn more west-northwest with time, where the waters are a little bit cooler. So that'll probably weaken it away from the peak intensity, but I think it's going to be around for a few, at least several days or more. So we're going to be watching this for the next, the next week or so as it gets a little bit closer to Hawaii. Meanwhile, in the tropical Atlantic, it's the same old story. And by the way, once again, we had the GFS in its usual fantasy land forming Category 5 hurricanes or whatever it wants to do, and wrecking seaboards. And of course, you have the usual array of suspects on the internet tweeting it yet again in an example of what not to do when it comes to going on the doing something publicly and showing maps 2 weeks out into the future. And the overnight runs, of course, show nothing like that. But again, I want to just point out this big area of dry air that sits in the tropical Atlantic north of 10 degrees north, and that is a problem. There is not going to be development here as long as you have all this dry air. You also have this big upper air low sitting out in the Atlantic Ocean, and that's creating a hostile wind shear environment throughout a good portion of the tropical Atlantic, and you're not going to see development from that. And you even have this upper low. We'll be talking upper lows here. These are lows that are way up in the atmosphere, by the way. You have another one that's back out in the Gulf of Mexico here, so that's creating a hostile condition. So everywhere you look in the Atlantic, it just is not favorable for tropical storm development at this stage of the game. Now, severe weather risk for the rest of today: central and South Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, down into eastern West Virginia, most of the eastern two-thirds of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. This is where the action is going to be today. And the marine layer, of course, the way it has penetrated, minimizes the risk of thunderstorms as you go north and east of New York City. And there's a marginal risk that runs up for northern New Jersey, northern Pennsylvania, and into western Long Island. This almost looks like something that you would see deep in, you would see in the middle of spring in terms of a severe weather setup because of the marine layer that we have. On the national loop at midday, there's not a whole lot going on other than the rain that's moving through parts of the Northeast at this point. And you can see it here. The back edge is running up into the Catskills, and there's some other rains back through Pennsylvania, but that seems to be marching right along. There's nothing really excessive. There are some heavier downpours here, but there's nothing that's causing big problems. Scattered thunderstorms along the central Gulf Coast, parts of Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma, and a little patch in West Texas, and that's just about it. Now, I want to look at the upper air pattern going forward because, we've been talking about the fact that the general signature pattern has been this trough in the east and the ridge in the west. And you notice that the ridge in the west has gotten flattened out to some degree because of that deep trough that's off the west coast. And that has lessened the extent of the heat. Now, as we go forward, the trough in the east partially lifts out, only to be replaced by another weather system. Here we go. This is for tonight and Saturday that's moving through, and then weather conditions in the Northeast will be improving over the weekend, but yet another trough comes in its place early next week, which will put us in the chance for showers and thunderstorms. It's a very weak trough, but it's hanging there, so it's going to probably mean for some shower and thunderstorm activity scattered around, along with very warm, humid conditions. The ridge in the west is beginning to flex. So is this upper low that's up in Canada. And that's another driver here, that vortex up in Canada, unusually strong for this time of year. And notice, as we move through next week and beyond, the general tendency continues to be, again, the trough in the east and the ridge in the west. And now at the end of the period of this particular run of the GFS, we are at July 30th. So we're here we are at the end of the month at this point, and we still have that signature pattern, the ridge right here in the western part of the United States. Here's the Atlantic Azores Bermuda high. That's holding in place. I'm just going to say, two things. The trend is your friend when it comes to the world of weather. And when you've got you've got a pattern that is holding and just doesn't want to break down, even when models try to show it breaking down, it normally just reverts back to what it was. And that's what we're seeing here. We've seen these occasional runs where the model tries to show the ridge coming to the east, and that just is not what reality is. So we're going to just continue with this idea of the trough in the east, ridge in the west. And by the way, as we start to get deeper into the month of August, if this pattern is there, we're going to start to see these cooler, drier air masses being of larger magnitude and bringing down cooler air, less humid air, but they're going to get a little bit bigger, last a little longer, and that's probably going to have some implication on the temperatures going forward if this pattern holds. We could see cooler than average temperatures in the Northeast, We certainly do not have a pattern right now that would suggest that we could get continuous 90-degree days anytime soon, or any kind of heat wave in the eastern U.S. So at least for those of you who are not fans of hot and humid weather, you can at least take solace in the fact that that type of weather is going to be minimized in the next couple of weeks with the pattern that we have. Okay, so let's just show you what's going on in terms of the surface map. And let me just roll it back. So here we are at the beginning. And here's a wave that comes through today and tonight with this rain. And then we have some drier air that gets in here for the weekend. Nothing especially dry and nothing especially cool either. The humidity level is only going to come down a little bit. And then we've got what looks like warm and humid conditions with summer thunderstorms Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday, as that trough in the east hangs around, but then starts to weaken a bit. Then something of greater magnitude comes down at the end of next week with perhaps a bigger high and a rather nice shot of drier air and lower humidity for next weekend. And in the west, it's pretty much more of the same. The heat will come back in the west once the ridge in the west flexes. And, you know, that's just about it. And as far as the tropics are concerned, we'll give you a quick look at that and see what this thing did in the North Atlantic. And while the GFS does pick up on something, just wait for this to load. Okay, it does pick up on a little low, and you can sort of see it there. It comes and goes, and then suddenly it kind of comes back here east of the windwards. This is later next week, and then into the Caribbean where it disappears. Then you get something that reappears somewhere north of Hispaniola and the Bahamas, and then crosses Florida. This is the same system that the model was keying on yesterday at one point, bringing some major storm up the East Coast. It's just nonsense. You see this sort of stuff, it's nonsense. The European didn't have anything. The Canadian had something that was minimal also. So again, until we get rid of the dry air that's out in the tropical Atlantic, and until the upper air wind shear pattern improves, you are not going to see much in the way of tropical storm development. All right, folks, let's call it a day. I went with the regular way of recording today, give the live streaming a break and maybe save it for when it's a little more relevant. But I'm glad a lot of you have been on the live streams and are enjoying it. I wanted to do it this way so I could do a little drawing with the jet stream and a few other things. So I'll be sort of going back and forth with regards to this. And thank you for all my new to all my new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, by all means, please do. It's absolutely free. You get weather videos like this. You're going to be getting live streams, and I'm really trying to work on that software program so we can make these live streams look really, really nice. But that's going to take some time, and I have a few days off coming up, so at least I'll be able to put it to some productive use. All right, folks, don't forget you can get more posts on the weather on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Cioffi, and also on my website by the same name, meteorologistjoecioffi.com. Have a great Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend.